I have Laura Eisenhower about to come in. I'm very excited. Laura, hello.
Hello, Isabel.
Oh, hello, you.
How's it going?
Oh, it's beautiful to hear your voice. You know, I don't know, when did you start talking out loud on the web? Was it only 25 years ago? Or was it?
Oh yeah, like a decade.
Yeah, I was thinking, I was going through things of points of moments of contact with you, with your mind, and the fact that you were probably the only person, let alone the only female, talking about the human potential and the DNA activation. And I was trying to work out when was it that I first heard this from this woman, do you even remember when you first started talking about what was in you publicly?
Oh gosh, I've been talking about this for a really long time, publicly 2010. So
Right. Yeah. Just this time is so strange, isn't it? I just when you've got children, you suddenly look around and you think, oh my God, you're 30. It's kind of
oh, it's
weird.
nuts. I know my children are they're well grown. I might be a grandmother soon. It's nuts.
I just had my 3-year-old granddaughter today hug the telephone
Oh
because
gosh.
that's all she can do from Berlin. But she, spontaneously gave me a hug by hugging the phone. It's so beautiful and so sad at the same time.
Oh, that's so sweet that she gravitates. Oh man.
Uh,
Yes. You're
yeah.
gonna be the most, and you already are, the amazing grandmother, and for many generations, future generations. So really appreciate your art and what you do.
Oh, Laura, that's very heartwarming. It's a weird path, isn't it? This is what I kind of really wanted to talk to you about because I don't know how deep you want to go or touch on it, just even just bounce off it. But this idea of carrying knowledge within you that does not fit the norm, and then you've got to bring it to the earth because you can't help it. You can't help yourself. That's how I kind of perceived you, just this flux of spiritual knowledge, wisdom coming through you, and you couldn't stop it even if you wanted to. And yet there is the world with a completely different paradigm, just thinking, who on earth and what are you doing? Because that's how I've lived all my life too.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's been a lifetime thing. And yeah, just seeing, others feel the same. It was really about just being true to yourself, and what does that mean? What is your calling? It's not about adopting something from outside of you.
Yeah.
And that's what we are conditioned to feel. And we don't look at like job or career as something outside of us. We might be like, well, that's my career and I'm good at it and I'm going to make money and that's me. But what about the doctors you go to? What about the people you vote for, right? I mean, that's where you really begin to step it up. What is the world you want to see? Especially for the next generation. So
Did
yeah,
you ever
and
think
are
of
your
a
abilities
career?
being used, you know? Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, no, it's just that I perceive you, and it's not no to what you just said. It's this sense of just a full soul coming through. Like, I talk about activating human potential, and you talk about enlivening and reactivating all the hidden DNA codes, this full potential human. So, I mean, this idea of some people have a career and some people just have to be their soul. And this is you for me. I always perceive you as you just have to be what you truly are. You couldn't choose anything other than being authentic, bringing this information. And that is probably the most normal, natural thing for you now to even think about. But for most other people awakening, it's just how on earth do you get to that place of inner courage and stability and knowing and daring, being your true full self? That's what I think
You have
every
to know
time.
what to walk, right. You have to know what to walk away from, right?
Mm,
Like I didn't just, start doing this. I worked a lot of jobs and a lot of, things starting from the age of 16, like washing dishes or cleaning hotel rooms, into my adult years when I was, going to take classes and like at college, went for wilderness expedition leadership. That's when I really learned a lot about energy and manifestation. But there are certain careers I was beginning to go down, and I didn't like how what I knew and understood, or maybe what I learned, was being exploited. And sometimes I noticed things going on behind the scenes that I didn't like, or I really didn't like the product, or I thought it's taking advantage of humans. So I went in the field of helping chemically sensitive people back in the early 90s. I did barely make any money, right? So I lived according to what I could.
Yeah.
But I love what I did. I loved what I was doing versus making a lot of money, not doing something that is going to help humanity. So if you're currently in a career that is asking you to compromise yourself, begin to work out how to get out of it. But while you're there, know you're shining your light, think about the connections you're making. Think about, the part that you can play to make a difference, just in being the love, right?
When
It's
you
hard
say
to
for
just,
you, that was just like every day, that was the logical choice for you. So it was step by step by step, because what people see, let's just say someone who's just found this quickening of knowledge in their spirit, and they realize that they are an energy body, and they're starting to find people like you, and they see you, and they see this full authentic being, pouring forth wisdom, and it's like, oh my God. And yet you're just saying you kind of got there step by step by step until
it
it.
was step by step. Yep. Yeah, I had to go on food stamps, I was single parented, it wasn't right away. I was a landscaper, but I would do readings for people just as friends.
Yeah.
They're like, God, you should charge for this. And I was like, oh, I don't know. And then it came, time for me to share what I had gone through publicly. And now, I open up a forum, and there's a lot more of a forum for people to, share their stories. So just make sure that you have an outlet, whether it's through your creative energy, whether it's through finding like-minded people, doing something locally, and whatever you're doing right now, what is the change that you can be? And if your boss or the people you're around just shut you up and make you feel like, you have no place whatsoever there, take some time off as best as you can, even if you have to stay with a friend or a family member, or go to an Airbnb for a week, just figure out what your inner voice is trying to tell you, or your body's just going to start to really hurt, right? And it's not worth your health.
Yeah, because mostly this sort of catalyst. I mean, I know from your story of the Mars adventure, that for me hit me like, wow, that was kind of the major catalyst to sort of shift you. For me, it was having my children stolen from me. And it sort of threw me into that place of, okay, let's get serious about what I am and understand the difference between the current paradigm, the matrix structure, and what I can offer, and then find a way piece by piece by piece to bring it through. And for you now, you're there, you're clear, you're strong, teaching, encouraging people, inviting them forth, so that it's not a huge leap into this increased awareness, this more spirit in their body. It's just piece by piece. And what I'm trying to say is that for some of us, it was more dramatic and scary, that kind of shift. And now it's almost like you're like a midwife. Would you say that's a kind of correct kind of, term?
Oh gosh. First, I'm so sorry to hear about what you've gone through.
Well,
You mentioned something about Catholic, I thought. No?
oh no, that was, way back. Catholic is also, of course, a massive conspiracy that's in almost every
Oh yeah,
family.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Here
So
and
I
there.
was
My
raised,
dad had
yeah,
that, but it wasn't because of
yeah.
that. That was probably more the reason I lost my children was because of the German backup system. So it was
Oh,
a
right.
hive mind
Yeah, yeah. Well,
mentality.
I thought the two went hand in hand. So I just
Mm.
sending my compassion for that. Oh my gosh.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, they are, in fact, because my dad was Catholic, so all the family turned against me, so I had no support. So yes, every single matrix structure said no.
feel you. Yep.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, it was drastic, and it still, is. I mean, I guess the drastic part that isn't so much for me is I was able to begin to do the work that I do more full time.
Yeah.
But it really wasn't until my boys were a lot older.
Mm.
Um, and we had already gone through hell and back. And yeah, I mean, so I work
Beautiful
with people.
boys.
Yeah. What's that?
They're beautiful boys. So the hell and back is a bizarre thing, isn't it? Sometimes it strengthens the metal in us. It is weird.
Yeah, and they're so strong. Yeah, I'm still working through a lot of, trauma. So, yeah, I might have awoken early on and made a lot of changes in my life to, do my mission and put it out there. But it doesn't mean like every day's easy.
Mm.
And, I feel into what's going on in the world and where people are at. And I process a lot through my emotional body, which it helps to know astrology so you don't beat yourself up, like why am I, crying so much, or why am I, shut down or don't feel right. When you see your chart, you can at least know what's going on with your inner elemental, because we're all earth, air, fire, water, ether, and understanding that, and how that corresponds with our DNA, how our DNA has been manipulated in order to switch on dormant aspects, has been a really, really helpful tool. So I learned that stuff, towards the end of high school, in my early 20s, and it's been incredible to, navigate with, those kind of tools like tarot and the I Ching, and
Mm.
and being in the wilderness. But yeah, if I don't like give myself, the time to figure out where I'm at, yeah, I have to have that breakthrough. I have to, see what I'm carrying that isn't mine versus what is mine, so it's always a work in progress.
Yeah, it feels
And
like for a moment this sort of two
bullshit, it's
places.
devastating to lose family and friends. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, well, the family and friends, that's your kind of the love, let's call it new earth matrix, because of it is some kind of a structure, your spirit body feeling comfortable in the earth, doing your soul mission. That's the sort of beautiful part. But then, your other leg is in this current paradigm that we're still in, which is just, as just full of broken and corrupt and disruption, disruptive, all of the sort of darker, terrifying, destructive things. And it is almost impossible, isn't it, to be in these two realms. That's why once you awaken, as you are in all these layers and depth, but then you perceive so much more. You perceive the darkness that you're trying to alchemize, and you've got this sort of uplifted quality. So you just said, sometimes you've got to kind of pull away. What, how are you coping for that? Because other people are going to feel that in smaller structures, smaller moments, smaller versions, as they kind of increase their sensitivity and their awareness. You've talked about astrology. I think that's one of the most powerful tools. But what would you say for that kind of living in two worlds? We're in this bifurcation time.
Well, learn to say no, assess your current connections. And, can you talk to your partners and your family members about where you're at? Can you create the changes that are important for you? And, put your heads together. And if not, can you take some time for yourself and assess, what you need to do to make life easier? Because we are straddling two worlds, but you're never stuck. You're never, so needing to comply or be a part of whatever matrix you are showing up for, to not be able to take some time off and call in sick for a week, even if you have to. Ask, when you can have a vacation. And if you're like being used and like you're in that 9 to 5 and you don't really have any time and you're constantly being called in, what can you do? People lose houses in a fire, right?
Yeah.
If you still have a roof over your head, if you still have a vehicle, what can you do to maintain that and not lose that? Sure. But at what cost is maintaining those things? Maybe it's better to, you know, sell it or not rent that place anymore and just step away. You know, there needs to be that assessment. And I did that really young. And I mean, I was renting. I've never owned a house, so I don't know what that feels like, right? But I know what it means to pick up and leave and trust the universe and trust myself. And every time I had the perspective of you're failing, you know, you're a loser, I would just manifest crap for myself. When I was like, okay, I'm being true to myself. I'm so glad I let that go. That's when the magic and synchronicity showed up for me.
Yeah, that balance point, isn't it? I don't know whether you find this, but I find this that every day, you know, you get yourself sorted in the morning and then you go through and then stuff happens, you discover things or your energy runs out for whatever reason. And it's like the whole world happens in each day these days. You know, it's like, on what place am I going to put myself? What part of the seesaw of the pendulum? And how do I get back to being in a state of relative peace and calm? Because every time I get something sorted out, some new thing comes because we're in this battle. It literally feels like, you know, tipping back and forth, seesaw kind of mechanism. And to hold that knowing is almost like what we've been told to do, you know, kind of, oh, you must stay still and true to yourself and peaceful and all that kind of, you know, Abraham Hicks stuff. And then you realize, God, this is actually impossible under these circumstances. I've got to be kind to myself when I go crazy and give up hope and feel like I'm at the ragged edges of myself. It's like we're, I don't know, bursting into sort of new levels of self-compassion.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. But yeah, before you have that nervous breakdown or plummet into a downward spiral, like have cut yourself more slack, you know, get to know like what that is saying before you misunderstand it. Look at the medical industry and how it takes advantage of all that and labels it depression or anxiety attack. Okay, sure, it's an anxiety attack, but it doesn't, the medical industry doesn't explore the deeper roots. What is your purpose? Why is this showing up? Our kids, when they go to school, the teachers aren't helping them understand their anger, their sadness, why they might sleep in class, why they might not want to go. You can't just throw them to a psychiatrist and put them on drugs. I mean, it's ridiculous. So many star seeds and advanced souls are being silenced. And it's through understanding the things that are erupting inside of us and giving it a voice that will help us to stand strong and true to ourselves, especially in these times. And the assaults are, you know, even worse now.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you know what I always loved so much about you was your ability to kind of create this, hold this massive network, a massive kind of like an aerial perspective overview. That's how I always perceived you. You know, you've got this brilliant mind and you had network and relationship of all sort, not all levels, but you know, so many levels of reality and experience, from things we see and know from, you know, even media, to all of these unseen levels. So this kind of overview thing was always how I perceived you. And for people kind of, you know, enmeshed in this difficulty and, you know, everything, the prices are going up and things become more difficult and the battle becomes more obvious. Sometimes it's really, really good to try and aim for that overview to see, oh my God, but, you know, Auntie Sarah is actually now healing. I never thought she would. Or this entity has now disappeared. I just discovered my mum had had this entity with her since she was 6. And because of a lot of work I've done with her, and she's finally managed to do it, she finally got rid of it just this year. It was, oh my God, you know, just,
yes, so much better to talk to somebody's soul instead of their programmings. This is how we help people heal, you know. And we got to be careful of like trying to red pill people. We want to, you know, see what we see and talk to their heart and soul, right? That's how we're going to help each other heal.
yeah.
Sometimes helping each other wake up, yeah, it goes only so far. We can be a resource, we can share, but you know, you tuning in like that and understanding that is huge, you know, because then we'll be judging each other for the behavior patterns. We want to have the boundaries, but also hold space for a greater understanding, because it's really the programmings and how people are feeling about those programmings that are making them sick, and like behaving like really erratically or lashing out. Like we want to understand and be like, okay, how can I talk to that part of you? Not telling you how to fix it or heal it, but appealing to your heart and soul, you know, to help it shine through so you can begin to see that. You know, that can be really, really hard and it can take time. But for those kind of individuals, sometimes that is exactly what they need.
Yeah, I mean, that's love, isn't it, that you're just describing? That's this gift, this power of love that we've kind of been so, it's been hidden from us how powerful that love actually is. Because, you know, we've had this sort of fluffy, what is love? Or then everyone says love is sexual love, which is great, you know, but real love is this sort of ridiculous, holding, insistent perseverance, connection, knowing that there are levels of reality beyond ours that can actually affect change just through.
And those are the aspects of God that we've lost.
Yeah.
We've learned about conditional God, punishment, reward God, you know, school systems, reward, punishment, parents that love us if we do this, but, you know, might punish us and mistreat us if we don't do something. Deep down, they unconditionally love us. That's why we forgive our parents. That's why we forgive each other and ourselves at the end of the day. But that's the unconditional love of source energy we need to stay aligned with for one another and ourselves.
Yeah, yeah.
That breaks down the patriarchy, right? You know, because it leverages the imbalance without knowing it. There were a lot of well-intentioned people in religion, of course, but, you know, why are there epidemics connected to these institutions and a deep, deep underbelly that people don't want to look at?
Yeah. Well, that powerlessness, isn't it, that allowed that to happen, to sort of, that we were hoodwinked into believing that they were goodness, when really, because we no longer had any real power, or thought we didn't, we just sort of aligned ourselves with all these, you know, this authority and that authority. And it kind of drove me mad when it finally clicked with me how we were always reliant on some authority saying, yes, you may. And the true authority is to allow that, you know, to that spirit to express through, to have a voice, to have a presence in the world. And that comes through as, you know, a form of love, a form of persistence, perseverance.
Oh yeah, I was so afraid of the nuns when I went to Catholic school in England. Oh my God. Some of the nuns.
Which school?
We all laughed.
I bet I know it.
Yeah, we just laughed. I mean, I wasn't afraid of her, but she was scary. Like, but you had to laugh, right? But it was like, this isn't love. We're not learning love.
Yeah. Yeah. I went to a Catholic school for a couple of years too. Just be funny if it was the same one. That's all I'm saying. This was in Windsor.
Oh gosh. Yeah, it was Ursuline Convent, and it was a really rundown school in England. I just went there, like really. My mom sent me to go live with my grandmother.
Memories of teapots, huh?
Oh yeah, every day, 4 p.m., 4:20.
Oh, but this is this funny thing.
So many muffins, cakes, and oh yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, as you know, tea, that's why my channel is called The Heavenly Tea, because it's, you know, when the English
I love it.
a moment.
Beautiful. That was like my favorite time of day. Oh my gosh, we would sit in the garden. Oh
yeah, because you take a pause.
I was doing that for a while when I moved back. Like kind of, it was like kind of in me to pay attention to that time. So that's beautiful. You do that.
Yeah, the heavenly tea party, you know, that moment of just coming to yourself and allowing, like, that's why I set it up, because I wanted conversations like this, you know?
Yes. Oh my God, the conversations though. It's like serious tea time.
I said extraordinary people talking about ordinary things, because for you, this is ordinary.
You make it beautiful and you make it fun, you know, and your art and your music and everything. And look at your background. It's so
she's amazing. This is a Russian artist. I love her work, and she just decided to stop painting for a while. I'm praying she will carry on because I love it so much. So it's just beautiful. Even just, I think I bought it for this green because it's just delicious. Yeah.
God, it looks real. I thought that was a real plant. That's incredible.
Yeah, she's good. I got very complimented because my mother thought I'd painted it, so I thought, whew. Not this one, just
Oh,
all the other ones.
beautiful.
Oh, Laura, thanks so much for giving me some time, because I know you're in busy land. And I just wanted to kind of touch with your beautiful energy, because you embody this knowledge, this awareness, and also this structure, the structure of intelligence from spirit that we're finally allowed to own and stand proudly owning, because we never know anything. I mean, every time I think I know something, I discover another thing that contradicts it. The only thing I ever know is what I'm in contact with my spirit in the moment. But your vision, your knowledge kind of shines out as this new paradigm. That's why you've become so very important.
Yes, but
Say.
you know, but exactly what you said. That is the most important thing. And what you're sensing from me, you've been doing, you know, by just being true to you. So, you know, you're giving it a voice. I've been giving it a voice, other people giving it a voice. And in, you know, doing that for ourselves, you know, it invites people to do that as well. And then that ripples out. This is how we heal the planetary grids too, because the reversal grid technology has created a lot of descending hubs. You know, they're in particular locations too on the planet. So you might live, not you, but individuals that are listening, you might live in a really heavy density place that feels like it's going backwards, you know, especially the cities, right? There's a lot that is trying to, you know, siphon, harvest, and in its last throes of like New World Order attempts, you know, what's streaming through the devices and towers and everything like that, you know, is to hook a person in so that they digress.
Yeah.
So you gotta kind of do all you can to override that, and be in like an ascending hub, like find, you know, something in harmony with the flow of energy that feels good to you.
So when you were speaking that, I was seeing, you know, the matrix, we traditionally call that, with this sort of rectilinear structure, you know, rigid squares overlaid across our planet or realm, whatever that is. But I was seeing the conversation between someone like you and me, and the celebration of that kind of frequency and energy, and essentially a kind of feminine creation energy, which is just all organic, like the way roots grow, you know, sort of, you can't predict where something will be. It's just a beautiful kind of organic network growing out, spreading. And that difference is what we're starting to perceive, that rigid old structure of same, to the surprise, the delight, the real natural, which is what gives you those moments of excitement, because it's unexpected.
Exactly. So even if you're in an area that feels really heavy and you're waking up feeling that way, just go into nature, do something, you know, that just celebrates who you are, and like-minded people. If you need to take the lead in your community to find like-minded people, put something out there. If you want to be a loner and you're around a lot of people that aren't like-minded, you know, embrace the hermit archetype. If you're isolated though and you feel lonely, you know, it's right under your nose, your ability to create change. And if you're in a particular area and you can't leave, I'm sure you're there to work the energy grids and to reverse the spinning of the descending hub that you might be living in.
I like the right under your nose, because I've used that phrase, I don't know, for the last 12 years or whatever, because everything you actually need is always right under your nose, isn't it? It's almost the thing you're ignoring, but it's you're in that moment, in that place, with that situation, because actually it's creating precisely what you need to do. So your let's call it a thesis of the DNA codes being activated, would you say you have to make conscious intention, or can you just let it unfold, or would you say it's a combination?
For a lot of people, it's a combination. It's helpful to know the astrocartography, like what is the astrology of where you're living. And also, you know, just engage. The more you know about what your inner voice is telling you, the better. You know, and then maybe check in with the chart, you know, see how much it might relate. you don't necessarily need the chart, but in a time of, people maybe going autopilot or just pushing through and then catching up with what they're pushing through and realizing, oh my gosh, I've really kind of ignored myself. It's usually their body that begins to cry out that they stop, to answer to.
But
And
when
do
you
you want to
say
wait
engage, you're saying kind of
for like a
notice.
breakdown? Like,
That's what you mean by that. You've sort of used 4 examples of what you mean by engage. Would you say it's that kind of conscious, oh, something's
yeah,
happening?
like talk to somebody you can really talk to. Talk to yourself, like write it out. Ask yourself, touch the places of your body that feel pain. What is it trying to tell you? Before there's real dis-ease or a real breakdown. Go for a walk, listen to something that that is uplifting. Have you wanted to be creative and you haven't been creative? What are you longing for? Make sure to write it down, because if you keep pushing through and you ignore it, and you don't have that to look forward to, then you might ask yourself, what am I even waking up for?
Yeah, I mean, that's
So
paradigm shift,
about like
isn't
what you
it?
see in the news, we're waiting for the world to be a better place. You got to take the initiative. Sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
because the pushing through, isn't it? That was the paradigm we were living in, the force paradigm, the sort of push, 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 formula, obey. And
And it's
instead,
great, to be strong and to push through and like show up to work when you say you will. But how can you set aside time and have something to look forward to and give yourself like, okay, you might have neglected doing that. Like, now do it. And what is it going to take to be able to set that time aside? You might not be able to drop everything right now, but even if you need a sick day, we only call a sick day when you're at the hospital or have pneumonia. What about like, what can you do now to serve what your needs are? Is the most important thing to ask yourself. And
and it can be
and if you're
small,
not sure,
can't it?
yeah,
That's what we say. Under your nose, you might be in that situation, because if you manage to just turn the perspective, you would find that actually you have something incredible to do there. So a grid activation point, I've always found that I've lived in places of really interesting energy. I bet you have too. Sort of like, oh, that's why I lived there. You kind of find out. Like I'm at 7 Church Close right now. It's like, I wonder why.
oh my gosh. Well, so your chakras and you're the priestess, right? So you're clearing like, probably those gateways big time. And I look at places not knowing the astrocartography, but I look back and I'm like, oh my God, no wonder I like literally could not get out of bed for a really long time. Like, wow. And I didn't necessarily need to know the chart. I knew it was my emotional energy. I knew it had to do with family. But when I saw that, I was like, wow. Wow.
I
I
mean,
might have
that's
cut
a
myself
level not many
back
people go
doing that.
into, is it? Astrocartography, which I love because I've always loved ley lines and that sort of talking with the earth and understanding the influence of that bigger body. So, for you to say how disgusting you might have felt in one place, but then for people to realize they can do something about it by finding out what the energy is and maybe shifting it. Maybe they're part of the shift in that place.
Yeah, realizing maybe I shouldn't be here, long term. Maybe I'm here to just release, this energy and if there is that heaviness, maybe this is not a place to work too hard. Maybe, this is a place to spend a lot of time in national parks or off into the wilderness, Um, because especially in the lines of energy that are water, if you're working all the time, and you're feeling everything around you, and you're not balancing it out with the time that you need, it can progress into a very, very difficult situation. That's usually when people are like, I need to move, right?
Mm.
But you don't necessarily need to move. But if you understand, what's going on, it's just it's more self-awareness. Now, if you take the time off and you are self-aware, you don't really need the chart. But for those that have kind of lost touch with themselves, it's definitely helpful. Anything that is a positive, healthy tool or modality, and it's not all going to be the same for everybody. But are you taking the time to understand your stress and your emotions so that you can make changes instead of judging yourself and instead of ignoring it?
Well, it's also, you talk about being in a watery place and you could make it better. Okay, well, let's add some fire. But that's because we haven't taken that seriously, because that was the old medieval way of doing things, the 4 humors. Ha, 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 let's learn that in history. It was completely dissed, wasn't it? It's like, oh, what are you talking about? Go to modern pharmaceuticals for your health. Whereas actually the 4 elements were always working in us and through us and around us. So all of this ancient knowledge that you always talking about that we need to recapture and re-understand, you can take it and then you can rebalance anywhere. I love the way you're always talking about alchemy, because people just have accepted things and forgot they can change things. We can change so much more.
Right. And that's the fire too. Like, where is your fire and passion? You know, sometimes it's just a matter of going to a place that helps ignite that. And if you have anger, you know, what is that anger? If you shove it down, you know, do you have skin issues? You know, it's like, it's important to know, because some people have habitual patterns. They don't even know, right? They learn it from their mom and dad. They've been repressing it. It manifested at the time of, you know, early childhood as even a childhood illness or even a close to death experience, because their energy field was not flowing. They didn't, you know, like when our energy field's not flowing, we manifest outer events to help us to get to know ourselves more, and even disease to help us to get to know ourselves more. But if it goes unchecked, we create catastrophes and we still give our power away. So we need to balance our inner elementals and understand that we didn't just get genetic damage. We got repressed elements. We got contaminated elementals. The
And
elementals
ridicule too, you know, like the elementals. I don't know about you, but I read loads of fairy tales when I was a child, and I knew the elementals were real. I could see some of them, I knew it. But then the mind is told, oh, don't be so silly, it's just nonsense. And so you've got these two bizarre levels going on inside you. It's like, I know it, no, you don't. I know it, no, you don't. You know, to take it
I
seriously.
see that. No, you don't. No, you don't. Yeah.
Yeah. And now we're coming into this sort of sorting moment, the sorting room of actually that's powerful, that's real, and that authority over there that we're now going to call the Matrix is just a load of codswallop. You know, it's so
That's
bizarre
right.
when we turn the world on its head. Try and resort it, you know.
Absolutely. And that's what we're heading towards with Saturn, Neptune conjunct. We're opening up to the elemental kingdoms, the multidimensional, the spiritual, the mystical, without the dogma, without the belief systems. But the attachments people still have to that will show them the detriment of that attachment. And like you were talking about, people will begin to see the entities behind those attachments and see, you know, the truth of what those authority figures are really made of, or what those constructs are really made of, you know. And there's going to be a need for a lot of healing to reconnect with, you know, the creative imagination, our capacity to heal and regenerate. So yeah.
Yeah, because they were made out to be these bogeymen, weren't they? You know, when I think of how I felt with my ex-husband when he was stealing my children, you know, he's 6'6". He's not strong, but he was a tall guy and had a twin the same size and shape. And it was the only way I could handle it, because he was already entity overtaken, very dark, nasty thing using him, was to imagine him as a 30-centimeter baby, which was the size he was when he was born. I had to shrink him down to size, because the fear that was created with his action was that the fear was bigger than the action. I don't even know if I'm putting it into words correctly, but I'm trying to sort of express this bogeyman idea that's been pressed into us to keep us controlled.
Wow. Yeah. It's like putting a flashlight on something that like is actually like a mouse, but like you put the flashlight on it and it's huge.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was like. Laura, we've got 1
You're
minute
brilliant
left.
to be able to do that in your consciousness. That's like brilliant and so strong of you.
It was the only way I could handle it, because otherwise, I don't know, I would have dissolved into a puddle, or just been pure rage, and then he would have had me shut up probably somewhere. We've got less than a minute left, because I'm cheapskate, use free Zoom. Do you want to come on for another 10 minutes or not?
Oh, I would say hi. I just am getting in. I can't go on camera, but I really appreciate being here. Yes.
Me too.
I can talk for a couple more minutes. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, because we're going to be cut off any second. I just wanted to ask you. Oh, of course, I'll just chop that out. But thank you. That's so beautiful. Just, you know, as soon as you need to go, you just let me know.
I've just so enjoyed being with you. Oh my gosh. I hope we do this again, and I want to do it face to face. I'd love to have you on my channel. So
Thank
yeah,
you.
oh my gosh.
It's fun to talk at this level. I remember just thinking, I can't talk to anyone. I didn't introduce Laura Eisenhower. She doesn't need much introduction to people like us who love her, but oh my goodness, her name, we'll talk about that in a moment. But she is a powerful being representing the feminine energy, wisdom, intelligence, balancing on the planet, bringing forth the paradigm of knowledge, of wisdom. She uses the word Sophia as the embodiment of wisdom. She's an expert in astrology. She's used that as her tool to examine people, places, things, interrelationships. And whenever I've heard her speak over the years, I have loved to listen to her because her brilliance is just pouring straight through her. She she may not think she's completely healed, but my goodness, she is a woman who's allowed so much through her. For me, she was inspiring me to not really take seriously, but yes, bring forth that which I knew, my spiritual knowledge, wisdom, bring it into the world. And now more than ever, I find I have to bring everything that I've ever accrued, maybe from lifetimes, bring it into the world, bring, because we are in this place of rebalancing. Yes, we may be in a massive battle, but it's a rebalancing place, bringing forth the inner wisdom, the spiritual wisdom, the connection to source. So this is where we're going to be playing and talking. I started the Heavenly Tea because I wanted conversations like that, of that ilk, that, oh my gosh, do you remember Laura Eisenhower in 2011? Speed, because it was pouring through her. It got me very excited because it was like, oh, thank you. This feminine wisdom coming in to rebalance. So The Heavenly Tea channel was put into place because I wanted conversations like that. And then I realized sometimes I could get them. Sometimes I just had to have the conversations myself with my spirit. So all the investigations were about that because you want a certain level of involvement and knowledge and information. And sometimes you can attract it from a person. Sometimes you have to go to your spirit and allow it through. So there we go. That's how that channel was born. So it was lovely for me to talk with her, to hear her, to be, it's this thing of knowing isn't knowing like we think, because reality is fluid and flexible and changing and shifting. But it's like a moment of touchstone, a moment of electricity. We are all these little, I love this phrase, nerve endings in God, in source. And it's like these moments of combustion where something is finalized or something new appears. And I've had many thoughts about rebalancing the paradigms into the organic, the natural, which is through from source. It is not predictable, it is not structured, it is allowance, it is reaction to all the things around, creative reaction. Our souls as creative explorers, really, explorers and shapers, sculptors of reality. And so to meet someone like Laura is delicious because she's kind of sculpted out her own universe, always finding out the ends, the endings, discovering more depths, levels of reality, and to be able to, it's like a kind of spark, to be able to kind of spark with that. That's a kind of spark of creation, like two networks getting together, and then more networks get together, and then more, and the energy voltage shifts. That's how it kind of feels. So I'm going to record this little piece. Hello, everybody. I'm adding this now to all of my videos. You know who I am. I am Dr. Isabel Hame. I love to activate human potential, mine, yours, anybody's, children's I love. And what do I mean by that? Releasing all the pain, the sadness, the difficulties that we have accrued in this system that we're living in, the somewhat damaged system,
and reconnecting and reconfiguring with the full stream of our human soul essence coming through us in the form of creativity and imagination, healing and joy for us and for all those we touch. That's a beautiful remit, isn't it? And for that, I'm asking you now to help me so that I can live from this. So there is, you can buy me a coffee or several if you want to. Some people do that, which is lovely. You can go to my website. That is inspiration. It's not a typo. It's in spirit, ion, inspiration.biz. And you can buy one of my books, or you can book me for a session, or you go over to gnostictv.com. My New Earth Mamas, I have a free show every week, but also I have events with special people talking about subjects dear to my heart. There's one all about the New Earth education, how we can really provide for our children, what we need to be thinking and feeling about creating this new future. And then there is the university. And I will have several courses on there on the gnostictv.com, the university platform. It's going to grow and grow and grow. Things we need to know, things we need to remember and learn. And I, like you, at the forefront of this movement. It's what I came here for. We are the ones we waited for, and now we're here. And now we are free from the old system. Haha, I have no attachment to it anymore. And that has been scary until I cleared out my system. And now it's just open potential. Here I am. I'm a human being. I allow as much as possible of my human being to be seen and heard and felt authentically. I allow as much as possible as my spirit within to be channeled through in all my various skills, the things I've learned in this life, the things I've learned in other lives, providing information, experience, approaches, perspectives for you, for the world to change it. We need to change it. We need to grow it. We need to realign it to the true earth, that which was perhaps our Eden. Bring it back online. You help me, I help you. Thank you so very much. See you soon.